Talent for Growth was organised by Brunel University on October the 9th, 2013. The event was about getting business partners to understand fully all the range of services and activities we offer to our students to enhance their employability skills. We were also mindful of the fact that at long last the economy is beginning to improve. And so before too long, our business partners will need to have access to our talent. And that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to impress upon them that actually we have lots of students and graduates who would actually be able to enhance their business. So we were very fortunate to have a number of employers, students and graduates come to talk about working with the university and being at the university and focusing on placements and project work and graduate recruitment. We were very fortunate because they were so enthusiastic about the university. The event finished with a video from Digby Jones, Lord Digby Jones, which people found so stimulating and motivational and funny that they asked if it could be made available. So, with Digby's kind permission, here is that video, which, as I say, was for the Talent for Growth event at Brunel University.
Well, thank you, Andrew. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for understanding that I have a bit of a problem today. One of the sad facts, actually, of the life I lead is that, yes, it's beneficial for businesses around the country that I can have hopefully a bit of a communication and influence with a fair few people who make the rules. But just every so often, they do put the hammer down and say, we want you somewhere. And today is one of those days, and it came at short notice, and there's nothing I can do about it. So I really, really am sorry. And I just jumped at the chance when Andrew said, well, could you put something on camera for us? I'm just so thrilled that I can do so. So probably it's your benefit, really, because you're going to get all the salient things I was going to say without any of the stuff either side of it. But it's lovely to have the chance to come and talk to you today. You see, you are the most important sector of our society. Just think about it for a minute. You're the only ones who actually create the jobs and generate the tax that pays for the public sector. Without you, there wouldn't be a single job in Britain. There wouldn't be a single penny in tax at all. Because you're the only ones that create wealth. And when you make profit in a business, whether you're the smallest business in the land or the biggest, you can only do one of three things with it. First up, you could reward the shareholders, the people who took the risk by way of dividend or capital gain on sale, and they'll pay tax on it. Or you can keep it in the business as retained profit, and you'll pay tax on it. Or you can employ people and pay them bonuses and all, and they'll pay tax on it. And that tax goes in part to pay for the good, decent, hard-working people we need in the public sector. For instance, this fabulous university, for a start. Wonderful. For the nurses, the teachers, the doctors, the policemen, the prison officers, the soldiers. Without them, our society would be nasty, brutish and short. But they wouldn't be there unless they were paid, and then they pay tax on it. But it all comes back to the wealth that the nation can create, so that the jobs and the tax revenues and the public sector flow from that. And you are route one to that wealth. So I just say thank you to you, because you're under the cosh. You're under the cosh from the media, you're under the cosh from politicians, you're easy kicking fodder. And isn't it funny, you know, but when there's a business that's really striving hard and not doing so well and really, really trying to do well, everybody loves them. And then the moment they succeed, for some reason you become a fat cat and everybody can kick you. And yet, if it wasn't for the biggest business in the land out there right now, or indeed the smallest, then we wouldn't have the society that we need. Now, if you take that necessity and you put that in today, can we deliver what we need to deliver, what the nation needs us to deliver for the 21st century? If the 19th century belonged to us, if the 20th century belonged to America, the 21st century belongs to Asia. And for this purpose, I shall call Brazil part of Asia. I'm not American, I do know where the world is. But if you look at it, Brazil is going great guns. It's a democracy. 1 in 5 of all the tons of food that the developed world imports, 20% of all the food that the developed world imports comes from Brazil. And they've just discovered Saudi Arabia offshore Rio. Saudi Arabia, the biggest oil deposits on earth. Well, they've just discovered the same amount of oil offshore Rio de Janeiro. Brazil is going to make the most enormous difference to the 21st century, and she's in Uncle Sam's backyard. But for this purpose, let's put that into Asia. This is Asia's time. Whether you're China, whether you're India, whether you're Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Singapore, Taiwan, Japan, Australia, this is their moment. And China wants your lunch, my friends. India wants your dinner. Now, how are we, the developed world, going to compete? How are we in Britain going to make sure that our children and their children have a future? Indeed, have a hospital, have a school. Because you can't get those unless you generate the wealth, and the wealth's got to come from a globally competitive environment in which you can succeed. That is the crux of the matter. And since about sort of 1950, maybe, we have been lied to. From the Pacific coast of California to the Ural Mountains in Russia, from the Arctic Circle in Norway down to the toe of Italy, the developed world has been lied to. You see politicians of all colours and creeds, Republicans and Democrats, Tory, Labour, Liberal, the UMP in France, the Social Democrats and the Christian Democrats in Germany, the 827 political parties in Italy. They've all been lying to us because they've told us we can have it all. They've actually told us that we can have high public services, lots and lots and lots of it, low taxation, and the gap, well, we'll borrow it. Well, the people who lent it want it back. And those who actually might lend it to us in the future have said there'll be loads and loads of conditions on this, and we're not going to lend you as much as we thought. So any politician of any party who stands up and says, vote for me, and I'll make sure that none of those harsh facts of life happen, it'll be all right in my land, they're lying to you. So that means that we need a public sector that can deliver more with less money. Then, of course, we have the demographic challenge. You see, there was never enough money in this country to pay for pensions. It's just that no one ever lived long enough to find out. I mean, you worked hard till you're 65, you did the decent thing, you died at 67. So if you got through to 75 or 80, you were living actually off the contributions made by loads and loads and loads of people who didn't even make 65. Well, all that's finished. There's a little girl born down the road yesterday afternoon. She's got a 1 in 3 chance of being alive 100 years today. If it's a little boy, it's 1 in 4. 25% of all the little fellas born today in Britain or America or France or Germany are going to be alive 100 years today. Well, you can't go on saying, it's okay, tell you what, we'll look after you. You don't have to make any contribution until you're sort of 18-ish. And then for the next sort of 30 to 40 years, we'll be ever so grateful if you made a bit of a contribution. But it doesn't really matter if you don't. And then from when you're sort of 60, for the next sort of 30 or 40 years, it's all right. Them, the state, they'll look after you again. Do you know what you call that? Greece. Now, it can't go on. And it's not a fact of, do we want it to go on? I mean, would we like to? Of course we would. It's a harsh fact of economic life. So we have a private sector that has to move to the value-added, innovative, quality, branded end of the game. Don't try and beat Asia on price. You will lose. Beat them on this. You see, whether you're in America, whether you're in Germany or France, whether you're in Britain, whether you're in Aussie, whether you're in Japan, the one currency that endures, the one currency that no one can beat you at is this. Because every one of you is unique. The currency that will work is knowledge. And the growth, development, transfer and exploitation of knowledge. The skilling up of our society so that we can produce value-added, innovative, quality, branded goods and services. So in the public sector, we can embrace change without fear. We can actually invest in better kit and have skilled people to use it. We can actually understand that there are different ways of going to market in the private and public sectors. And people can embrace that because they feel competent, they feel confident, because they're skilled. And because people are going to live longer and have active lives living longer, they're going to feel a bit more nimble up here, so they will embrace change later on. So possibly they can have 4, 5, 6, 7 jobs in their lifetime. Redundancy isn't a dirty word. You just move on to the next one. And employers, public and private, have an obligation constantly to skill their people onwards and upwards the whole time. A, to embrace change in their own environments. But secondly, so certainly to make sure that in society they do have this ability to move on round, dip out, dip in. That is how we can take Asia on and win. As a Chinese guy gets richer, moves on from $2 a day to $4 a day to $8 a day, I want him to buy British, European, Western world goods and services. So if he wants a car, I want it to be a Mini made in Oxford. As he moves on, I'd like it to be a Land Rover made in Birmingham, or a Jaguar made in Castle Bromwich. I want him to bank with HSBC or Standard Chartered, British banks. I want him to mobile phone. I want it to be Vodafone from Newbury. And I want him to go to a British university. I want his children to aspire to a British higher education. And when they go there, I want them to fly on an Airbus. Now, people say Airbus is French. 50%, 50, half, of all Airbuses flying today, 50% of every Airbus you've ever flown on was made in our country. You will not read this in the Daily Mail, it's good news, so I don't see why you would. But they're all made, half of every one is made in Britain. The wings are made in Broughton in North Wales. The undercarriages are Messier Doughty down in Gloucester. The avionics, lots of small businesses all over the West Midlands and the North West, and they go down to Bristol where GKN, Airbus and BAE Systems put them together. And under the wings are the greatest and best aero engines you'll ever find on earth, and that's Rolls-Royce made in Derby. Now the Germans, they make the fuselage. Not a lot of technology in a fuselage, really. And the French, well, they screw it together. But the really clever stuff, the bit that gets it up there, keeps it there, brings it down again, all made in our country. And you see, that's a global product, but it's at the value-added end. All those things I talked about, the banking, the mobile phones, the cars, it's all at the value-added, branded end. It's aspirational. That's what middle-class people do. As they get more skilled, they get more liquid in their finances, they feel a bit more confident, they want to show off to the neighbours. Didn't we? And that's where value-added innovation comes in. But you can't crack it if you haven't got skilled people. And wherever I go in the world, you know, if wherever I go in the developed world, and especially wherever I go in Britain, I talk to businesses, what's your biggest challenge? It's I haven't got enough skilled people. And it all comes down to that. So at one level, I want to know why governments of all colours in this country for the last 30, 40 years, Tory, Labour, Liberal and Coalition, whoever it is, it's not party political, this. After 11 years of full-time, free, compulsory education, that's what they get, 5 to 16, 11 years of full-time, free, compulsory education, half the kids, 48% of the 16-year-olds who took a GCSE this summer did not get grade C or above in English and maths. If that wasn't so funny, it would be disgusting. We want to take on China, do we? We want to beat India at its own game, do we? And half the kids are coming out, they can't read to the standard expected of an 11-year-old. And then 20% of all the adults in our country cannot read and write to the standard expected of that 11-year-old. 1 in 5 of all the adults are functionally illiterate. And before anybody tells me, oh, that's what you get from immigration, the average illiterate in Britain is white, male, and 26 years old. 33% of all the adults in Britain cannot add up 2 three-figure numbers. That's right. A third of all the adults in Britain are functionally enumerate. And we want to take on Asia on their terms, do we? So first up, we need the product of the education system that our taxes have paid for to deliver the basic product. And I think we've got every right to say to politicians, you're letting us down. That is more important than anything. Read, write, count and operate a computer. That's not much to ask of an education system in the 5th biggest economy on earth, is it? Then second up, we need a well-invested further and higher education system. I think they do a wonderful job. Where you are today, they are just an exemplar of how to deliver on limited resources a first-class ticket. Every year it gets harder. Every year they're having to squeeze more out of their existing resources. This isn't a plea to spend more taxpayers' money any more than private. This is just to say they are a jewel in the crown, our higher education system, and I just wish the nation understood it a bit better. And let's get more, I'm so sorry, my phone's just going. That's probably the person who's needing me for the reason why I can't be with you right now. But what we need is businesses to link in better with universities and schools and colleges. We need public sector organisations in cities and towns to do exactly the same. Yeah, they're big employers. And if we're going to win this concept of actually revolutionising the delivery of public services, the more they link in with universities and colleges and schools, the better. Everybody in this room today should be thinking right now, have I got a good link with a university? Smallest business in the whole of this room should be thinking, am I talking to my local school? Because the third challenge is we need our new entrants, be they graduates, undergraduates or 16 or 18-year-olds, we need them to be employable. They can have all the qualifications in the world, my friends, but actually, if they can't be employable, we start against the flow. We actually are not ahead of the game. And so we need this employability to be at the forefront of what education establishments provide and what we demand. And we need government, whatever government may mean, local authority, local enterprise partnerships, national governments, European governments, I don't care who it is, but we need them to understand that this isn't just about I've got a ticket, I've got an exam. This is about actually I'm on the page of being employable. Turn up to work on time. Turn up to work at all. That'd be a change. Get your hands out your pockets. Look me in the eye. Understand the pleasure of earning a living is not entirely mine. Make sure that people relate skill up, earn money. Get better skilled, earn more money. It is not rocket science, but we will only pull this off if the private sector, the public realm, media, politicians, public sector, and the education sector pull this together. They've actually got to come onto a common purpose, a noble cause. And then you can take the fight to Asia. Then you can actually ensure that 60, 70, 80-year-olds are equipped to keep on for their own benefit, not just for everybody else's, having the self-respect and the self-esteem that comes with feeling that you can cope with change and pressure. And it's a socially inclusive, hugely socially inclusive method of improving our society. Because if you feel a bit more skilled and you've got a bit more confidence about yourself, then actually you don't sort of do the white powder. Because why would you? If you don't do the white powder, they don't mug you and nick my car to pay for it. You look after yourself a bit better. You don't do the booze and the fags in quite the same way. So it's not the big call on the NHS, which is taxpayers' money, that there is. And you get people of Damascenean conversion, you know, people who actually say, I'm living proof that education worked for me, and they're the best ambassadors you'll ever have in your business. So there it is, my friends. If I'd been able to be with you, and I'm so sorry I can't be, but if I'd been able to, this is precisely what I would have said. This is something I care passionately for. I'm a lucky boy. I had a mum and dad who cared for me. They gave me no money. I've come from very much the wrong side of the tracks in my life. But I did have a mum and dad who gave me love and enthusiasm. And then I had a school who bothered. And I can still remember the names of the teachers who really did. Miss Harding, Mr. Webber, Mr. Cook. I can remember them. And I thank God I knew them. And I thank God they cared for me. But then I also had people who actually took me on in placements and actually gave me an understanding and an appetite for a bit of work. I had school holiday jobs, but people who didn't make me just make the tea and lick the stamps, but gave me my head a bit. In quite menial stuff, but I learnt what work was about. And then I thought to myself, you've been lucky, put a bit back. And so I'm very evangelical about this subject, which is why I wanted to come and share it with you. And I'm just glad that technology has allowed me to do it. So have a great, great conference. I know you've had a good morning. Enjoy the lunch. As you can tell, I probably don't need another lunch, to be honest. I won the battle against anorexia a long time ago. I'm actually, come here, I'll tell you, I'm actually half bulimic. I eat, I just forget to throw up afterwards. But at the end of the day, I don't need the lunch, but I certainly would have liked the opportunity of meeting you guys and girls and sharing a few thoughts with you. So thank you for tolerating me talking to you in this way. Think on about what I've said, because your children and their children, if we pull this off, will say thank you. If we fail, they'll never forgive us. All the best. Bye-bye.